Let us remind you, though, the troubles that dark money has caused. Again, this is not new, what Dan and I are talking to you about today. Let's put up the Intercept headline. Rep. Henry Kolar gets boost from dark money group launched by his close aide. The Voter Education Foundation, linked to abortion ban advocates, sponsor ads against the conservative Democrats' primary challenger, and that was Jessica Cisneros. Those of you who are in Texas and those of you who may remember this race, we know that these groups weighed in on that. Jessica had a very good chance of winning this race until that dark money started pouring in. And then you guys may remember this, I know I do. Ohio's 11th congressional district, and we're talking about the Ohio underscored, bolded, underlined it. 11th congressional district race turns negative in final days as outside money ramps up. No one is left scathed. Very few people, especially those of us who are progressive freedom fighters, they come in after us. And it's really ironic how the Democrats come harder at progressive Democrats than they do even against Republicans. Dan, any thoughts about that? What happened to Jessica? Not just Jessica, me and others, and how this dark money really does take away. My primary concern here is that the voice of the people in those communities, that voice is taken away by outside people coming in here who really don't care about the troubles that those communities or the needs that those communities may have.
Yeah, absolutely. And oftentimes it's acting in bad faith. I mean, we all know what certain like major dark money groups said about you in bad faith. And I had the pleasure of speaking about to Jessica Cisneros as well about how, yeah, that was her second time running. She had really built a great ground game when there was like, she was running at that point, but you had the issue where, yeah, Henry Cuellar came in and he had his big Democratic Party donors who were behind him. And with that infrastructure, it has exactly what you're saying. It has that effect where the regular people, the voters, the person who's like door you're knocking on, my old favorite pre-COVID favorite part of politics is just canvassing and talking to people who may have R's by their name, and by the end of that conversation, they're a D. That's great stuff. That's real politics. This money wipes that out. This money cancels out those people's voices, and that's the most infuriating thing because when you do canvass, there is so much that we can do together. You really see that opportunity, and then big money comes in, and it's back to politics as usual.
Yeah, it definitely manipulates and taints the entire process by, taking over airwaves with negativity and stuff that really has no bearing directly on the needs of the people. I know in the 11th congressional district, having 50% of our children living in poverty, the need for universal healthcare as we need all across this country, jobs, all of that stuff got drowned out by these dark money groups who wanted to be able to own, because that's what this comes down to. They want to be able to own the people who get these seats. And it's very unfortunate, especially in a primary. And the cherry on the top, Democrats love to use hot issues to make a quick buck, but then don't do anything about those issues. So this headline, Democrats use abortion rights to fundraise, but don't fight to protect those rights. Some of us are old enough to remember all that fundraising that went on once the Supreme Court took away Roe v. Wade. And in Texas in particular, there was an opportunity to have a pro-choice candidate win in Jessica, but instead leaders like Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn and others sided with Cuellar against this young woman, and on top of that, then had the nerve to fundraise with their folks about Roe v. Wade. The irony cannot be lost. America, come on now, we got to do something about this and not continue to be complicit in our own demise. This stuff is just absolutely, it makes you shake your head really hard.
If I could say one last thing too,
sure.
To me, this is all within the context of the Democratic National Committee deciding to move South Carolina up ahead when they could have chosen more diverse states like Nevada or Michigan, like states where someone other than Jim Clyburn basically puts their thumb on the scales for whoever wins. But like, of course, the Iowa, New Hampshire primaries, I was a producer at TYT during those primaries. It was a mess. It was a ridiculous situation. You had
you
had one of Buttigieg's companies somehow involved in the Iowa results. It was a big mess. We don't want to go back to that system, but okay, if we're talking about replacing systems, the Democratic National Committee is clearly down to make changes for what it feels like, what they feel like will yield better results for better candidates. But of course, what they think are better candidates is very out of tune with what the grassroots thinks. And every time you get warriors like you going to these state meetings and whole Democratic National Committee meetings, the same thing happens. You're just brushed aside as if you're the college students touring for the first time, trying to get selfies with all the politicians. Like, it's ridiculous, and it's indicative of efforts that need to be had inside the Democratic Party, but also efforts that need to happen outside of the Democratic Party to pressure them and show them that there is no other choice but listening to the grassroots activists.
Ultimately, it's coming down to that, and that's why the majority of the voters don't subscribe to either one of these parties. Dan, they tired of the foolishness and the okey doke. They see right through it, but especially younger voters.